he would have never met the Ishmaelites, the slave traders. Had he not met the Ishmaelites, he would have never been taken to Egypt as a slave. Had he had not been taken to Egypt as a slave, he would have never met Potiphar. Had he had not met Potiphar, he would have never met Mrs. Potiphar. Had he not met Mrs. Potiphar, who falsely accused him of rape, then he would have not been thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit for 13 years. Had he not been thrown into a prison for 13 years for a crime he didn't commit, then he wouldn't have met the butler. And if he wouldn't have met the butler, he wouldn't have met the baker. And if he wouldn't have met the baker, then he wouldn't have met Pharaoh. And if he wouldn't have met Pharaoh, then the world would have starved to death. Interesting, isn't it? The no-show of God. We think he's not showing up, he's not working it out, when actually he's saving a whole lot more that you don't see. And it's going to come out bigger than you think in the end. God didn't come down to Joseph back when he was in that pit and say, look, now look, Joseph, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be sold to these slaves, to these slave traders, and then they're going to take you and they're going to sell you over here, and you're going through all these problems. You're going to be alone. You're going to suffer. You're going to be in prison for all this time. But it's okay because, you're going to get from the pit to the palace in a matter of a few years. But just hold on. No, God didn't do that. It don't work that way. You have to believe. He had to believe and just hold on. Sure, we could handle things a lot better if God would come down and explain things, I sure could. But that's not how he works. You see, Moses, he even had a pity party crying over on Mount Nebo because he knows that he's never going to get into the promised land. All because he hit that stupid rock when God told him to talk to it. And he had to think about, that is just such a harsh punishment just for hitting a rock. It was a rock. But God said, talk to it. Talk to it. So he's out there having this little pity party, And God didn't come down at that point and tell Moses that it was going to be okay, that 500 years later, that he would be setting feet down in the promised land on the top of Mount Transfiguration when him and Elijah would float down out of heaven and have a little talk with Jesus right there. He didn't tell him about that. But I'm sure Moses would have felt a lot better if he would have. But Moses still held on. Now, there's some things God can't tell us now that's coming in our future. There's things that we go through, and he can't tell us it's going to be okay. There's times when he feels like that he's not showing up, but he's just waiting, Because, see, if he tells us some things, the devil might hear. Well, we know he will. Because that's the only way he gets his information, and it's through the talking and the gossiping and the speaking, and But God says, no, I'm not going to tell you. Just trust me. Just trust me. And then, like Joseph, you'll be able to say, what Satan meant for my evil, God turned around for my good, and the good of my family, and the good of the world. The good of the world. See, Job could have handled things a lot better if God would have come down and had a little talk with him before he went through all that. So, okay, now look here, son, you're going to lose 10 kids in one day, and then you're going to lose all your wealth, then you're going to lose your health, and then all your friends and your wife, and everybody's going to turn on you, they're going to tell you to curse me and die and all this stuff. But it's going to be okay because in the end, I'm going to give you double for your trouble. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Job had to go through it. He had to go through it. And, and he didn't hear. God didn't come down and put his arm around him, it's going to be okay. I'm here. He didn't feel God. He didn't hear from God. No. He just had to trust God. His wife even turned on him. Said, just curse God and die. Curse God and die. Well, what a helpmate that was. But Job, without the assurance of the outcome, said, no, I choose to live and bless the name of the Lord. So here we are in the middle of our no-shows of God. We have the choice. Curse God and die, or bless God and live. I choose to live. I choose to live. I choose to live. The no-shows of God deepens our faith. Whenever we can't understand God's present, trust His past. You see, I may not can understand things that are going on right now because maybe I've not faced them before. Maybe I don't understand it all. But I can trust His past because I know His word is true. And I know He brought me through. I know He can heal because He healed me. I know He can save because He saved me. I know that He can work miracles beyond miracles because I've seen them. So if He can do that for me in the past, then He can take care of my present. He can take care of the present.